Secretary Bill Lawler.
Trustee Melissa Augusta.
Present.
Trustee William Lawler here. Trustee Craig Messernick.
Here.
Trustee Tara Mishner.
Present.
Trustee Doreen Papar.
Absent excused.
Trustee Ramesh Verma.
Present.
Trustee Jeff Wood.
Here.
Student Representative Ravina Joshi.
Here.
And Student Representative Lahari Vavalala.
Here.
Okay, thank you so much, Bill. We'll go ahead and stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 4 is approval and overview of the agenda, and that's found on pages 1 to 4. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Did you have a thought?
Do you want to make a note and add the balance sheet to reflect?
Oh, okay. Item number 11, E, the balance sheet, is not on pages 48 and 49.
Yep.
It's been put in front of you, the corrected copy, and my report will reflect the numbers on the attached report.
Very good, thank you, Melissa. Any other additions or changes?
Yes, I'd like to add one other, under D for Events, Marketing, Fundraising Committee and the outreach opportunities. Can we please add October 12th, Novi High School Open House? Our student rep, Ravina Joshi, attended for us.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you. Awesome. Okay, so those changes were noted, and now with that revised, okay.
Second?
All right, moving on. Sounds like an approval to me. 5 was the consent agenda, approval of regular meeting minutes, 5 through 13, and B, approval of claims and warrants 571, and that's found on pages 14 through 16. Do I hear?
President
Yeah.
Mitchner, can we get an approval first on the agenda? We need to do
Oh, I
it
heard
overall.
so moved, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So we got our approval. I need to actually say, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, please forgive me, guys.
It's a long week.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm like, is something missing? Craig gave me a look. It was a nice look. Okay, 5, consent agenda. So I'll say that again. Approval of regular meeting minutes, September 20th, 2018, and that's found on pages 5 through 13, as well as B, approval of claims and warrants 571, and that's found on pages 14 through 16. Any changes or thoughts on that? And if not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Okay. Do I hear all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like it's approved officially. Okay. Now 6 is correspondence, and we'll look at Julie Farkas for that.
Yes, so if we can look at page 17 to start, again, we had a number of correspondence. On page 17, we have 2 thank you notes. These were handwritten. The first was from Beth Hinmer. She attended the scrapbooking event that we had on September 15th. And then on just below it is a thank you note from Roselle and Stacy White for the Real First Ladies group. That was received on September 16th. These are, one was an attendee for the scrapbook event, but then the second one is a rental, and a thank you for that and the accommodations. If you look on page 18, we have 2 thank yous. These are both from authors that were part of our Authors Live event that was at Fox Run on the 1st of October. And it's Tom Daniels and Tom Marsh is the first letter, the first thank you. And the second one is from author Steve Harms. And then moving on to page 19, this is Oakland County Clerk Register of Deeds. This is Lisa Brown, and this is a thank you for the opportunity for them to attend the library and host a program. at the library, and thanking Gail for working with her on that program. And on page 20, this is a thank you, and it's a thank you email that was received on October 8th, and this is from Rob David. He is a resident of Novi and attended the strategic planning public session that we had. I'm happy to
Nice.
entertain any questions, should you have any.
Well, instead of a question, I just wanted to comment. It's nice to get so much gratitude
Yes.
in one meeting,
Yes.
like so much gratitude from the correspondence. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to 7, and there's no presentations or special guests tonight.
There are not.
And now brings us time to our public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. And nobody is coming forward, so we will move on from there and go to item 9, which is our student representative's report.
For the programs for September, the SAT practice test took place on September 22nd. Attendees were able to test their knowledge under test day conditions with Sylvan Learning Center. 22 people attended. ACT, SAT, or both took place on September 25th. Attendees were able to join the Princeton Review as they will cover truths, misconceptions, and comparisons of the test and did a few sample problems. 80 people attended. The Tween Pizza and Pages Book Club took place on September 26th. Attendees read the book The Worst Class Trip Ever by Dave Barry. The purpose of this book club is to encourage tweens to read and also allow tweens to practice for the Battle of Books program that the library holds annually. 15 people attended. For the Teen Space update, there were 699 attendees in Teen Space in the month of September. Teen Space started back in session on September 4th.
For the Teen Advisory Board update, the first Teen Advisory Board meeting of the year took place on September 21st. At this meeting, the new officers began with introductions of themselves and what position they are responsible for. They also explained what TAB is about. Members were able to enjoy snacks while playing a bingo game of getting to know their peers in TAB. Ms. Lindsay provided an update on the current service project taking place throughout September called the Crayon Initiative. A donation bin was in the library's lobby and new crayons were collected that will be made into new crayons. Those crayons will then be donated to children in local hospitals. For the remainder of the meeting, teens brainstormed ideas for future community service projects, activities for TAB to do, and potential library programs. Finally, the meeting concluded with teens going outside to play a game to get to know each other. Attendance for that was 15. For the upcoming programs, the next TAB meeting will be on November 16th. The Tween Pizza and Pages Book Club will be on November 28th. And for the captions for the pictures, members of TAB enjoy an icebreaker activity outside. And for the second one, attendees of the ACT, SAT, or both programs listening to the speaker from the Princeton Review.
Nice. Thank you so much. It is my goal before this year's over to get to one of your meetings. I have to make it happen.
You'll
Any-
be impressed.
The next meeting is actually tomorrow.
Yes.
Before
I'd
the-
like to commend you for continuing to do a good job of scheduling a variety of activities for your people. Some of which are fun-based and other things, but some of which, like this SAT and ACT, are a lot more rigorous, but they're a lot more, they are valuable. They are valuable. So I would encourage you to continue to schedule those type of activities because you can see how much people respond to them.
Yeah, absolutely. You represent us well, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anyone have any other thoughts for our students?
I just want to add a thank you to Ravina for when we put out the call to see if we could have someone join us at the high school open house. She was very willing. I thank you for your time to do that. I understand you had about 15 people that visited you. You took some information and shared with students, what TAB does, what you do as a student rep, and I just thought that was a great opportunity for her to market herself and the role, but also just to connect with some of her peers. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's pretty amazing, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So we will move on to 10, which is our president's report. And A, 2018-2019 Library Board Goals, which can be found on page 24, actually. Yes.
And then following is the actual October update for you, pages 25 to 34. Everything in red is new. I'm happy to take any questions, thoughts that you might have. Since there's so much and it's all new to you, we've been adding things for the last couple months. So if there's anything that I can answer questions, I'd be happy to.
I have a question about Carl. How is that going, and have there made, anything new that they're going to be introducing, or how is that, the whole system working?
It's a great question. Carl has gone well for its launch. In fact, there's still things that they're tweaking from the initial launch in May, so there's been nothing new that's been added yet. As I shared at the last board meeting, I've had some comments from patrons of having the opportunity maybe to get a library card online via them. That's not something that's offered currently, but it is something, when I was at the Michigan Library Association conference, I was able to share with a couple of the staff that work with TLN, our consortium, to let them know that we're hearing that. And I know that they're still wrapping up and still putting together files and cleaning up the database. It's still not 100% yet. I still, with only 6 months into the new software and into the new program, I think it's okay. It wasn't, I'll be honest with you, and you all know this wasn't the one that our staff wanted. They wanted the other system. But when you have 60 libraries weighing into and purchasing, you might not always get what you want. They were happy that there were new things added that the old system didn't have. But, did they get their choice? No. So they're working through things too. What's wonderful is communication's been very good between us and the library network. The staff is encouraged on a regular basis, if they run into issues or they find things that don't seem to be working well, that they can send that information directly to TLN so that we can address problems as they arise. So still a work in progress is how I would categorize it.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Could you, under goal one, you are looking for now for the new cafe vendor?
I am looking into options at this time, yes. We haven't done a bid, we haven't done anything like that yet. The Building and Grounds Committee will be brought into that process.
So how long is the lease now?
His lease will be done as of June 1st, 2019. Yes.
I had questions about that too. Does it go out for bid, or are there any milestones that come up? That
We went to bid the last time, so when we were opening the building, we went to bid. I'm looking into different options where we might not have to. I'm not sure if that'll pan out, but there are some options that we can look into. If we go to bid, we'd be going to bid probably in January or February of 2019. Yes, it is. Oh my gosh.
I just have one note, and
Yes.
I don't know if you have the answer for me today.
Sure.
It should be fine, but on page 31.
Yes.
You mentioned that you chose the first book for the STEM book club for kindergarten and first grade, and the launch is going to be next quarter. Just wondering if you could tell us anything about that?
I cannot, but I'm happy to get you that information. I'm sorry. It's from
No,
the
it's okay.
IS department.
It's okay.
Okay, I will get it for you.
Okay, it sounds exciting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the goals for Julie? Okay. And then C, okay. C is Directors of Annual Evaluation, first draft.
That's going to be the HR, but I put it under you in order to address it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can bring it up at this time or wait. It's completely up to you.
Okay. Why don't we wait on it and come back to it?
I think it shows up in matters for board action. It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I figure we can wait on it since it's a matter for board action. So 11 is Treasurer's Report with Melissa Augusta. Melissa, you have the floor.
That was fast. All right, everybody should have a copy of the report in front of you. Budget for Fund 268 for fiscal year 2018-2019 starts on page 38 through page 41. The approved amended budget for Fund 268 calls for revenue of $3,033,030 and expenditures of $3,140,250, consuming $107,220 of the fund balance. Budget for Fund 268, which is on page 42, the last light green column, for budget year 2018-19 amended, calls for revenue of $33,000 and expenditures of $145,700, consuming $112,700 of the fund balance. Revenue and expenditure report for Fund 268. The report starts on page 43, and the numbers that I'm going to be referring to end on page 46. Revenue year-to-date ending September 30th, 2018 revenue was $2,913,198. That was an increase of $2,745,716. We did receive our tax revenue for our budget year. Our expenditures ending September 13, 2018 were $667,371, an increase of $221,272. Revenue and expenditure report for Fund 269, which is on page 47. Revenue year-to-date, effective September 30th, 2018, was $18,467. And our expenditures were $17,553. Any questions about revenue and expenditures before I go on to the balance sheet? All right. The balance sheet is the sheet that was in front of you. The ending fund balance as of September 30th for Fund 268 was $4,149,698.09. And on the back side, the ending fund balance for Fund 269, effective September 30th, was $1,708,343.04.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Anyone have any thoughts for Melissa or questions?
If I can just ask a question, hopefully we've revamped those reports and they're looking better to you. Any thoughts, comments? We've tried to tweak them, make them a little larger, not have them as small in the packet. Everything looking good? I know we had to do some work on that.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think that looks fine, but what I would say that it's really helpful is the sheet that you do
Yes,
now.
I do
The
too.
It's so helpful to follow. Like, even if you get lost for a second, you can get right back there. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara, for your help too.
Okay, so now we're moving on to Director's Report with Julie Farkas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Page 50, we have our anniversaries that will be celebrated in November. We have Betty Lang on November 17th for 30 years. I've asked Betty actually to join us at the November meeting so that we can recognize her. This is the longest in terms of years that we've celebrated at Novi Library. So I haven't heard back from her yet, but I'm hoping she'll be able to attend the November meeting. I think that's quite a milestone, if you ask me. And then we have Bill Bebenek, November 16th, 18 years. Bill works with our facilities department. I apologize, Betty is one of our librarians. Then we have Denise Johnson, November 19th, and that is 4 years. Denise is one of our shelvers at the library. Lisa Rinkle, and that's November 2nd, 2 years with the library, and she is also a shelver at the library. Kirsten Malzahn, November 2nd, and 1 year, and she is a librarian. And Katie Iverson, November 13th, and she is one of our interns going to school for library science.
Did you forget somebody?
Well, I think it's kind of
I'm
weird.
freaking Meister. I'm on it.
So I'm excited to be celebrating 11 years. I really am.
And we're excited with you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's hard to believe. It's gone very fast.
Yes. Happy early anniversary. to
Thank you
too.
very much. Page 51, I wanted to include, this is the final document for celebrating our 5 years of accomplishments, the strategic planning update. So a huge thank you to Jeff Wood and to Doreen Popard, who've been working on the committee and approved the design and for us to be using this during our public sessions and getting the word out about what the library has done over the last 5 years. Some really good numbers, and especially on page 53, if you look at growing numbers and, you know, the amount of checkouts, over 3 million books have been checked out in 5 years. I think that sounds amazing, you know, to say that. And patrons who visited, over 1.6 million people have come into the library in the last 5 years. I mean, these are great numbers to be sharing. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Page 55, we continue to do public sessions, and we have Wednesday, October 31st, and we have 2 sessions. One is 7:30 a.m. and one is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This was an invitation that went out to specific leaders in the community, business leaders, school district, all of our boards and commissions, which are all Novi residents. So we put out an actual call specifically to these people to hopefully participate on these 2 days. And then we also have sessions in November, which will again be public sessions for people to drop in. We're trying to do as many as we can. I've been a little disappointed in the attendance, just not getting big numbers with people dropping in. I don't take that as a negative. I just think that people do think that what we're doing is good and valuable in the community. Perhaps they don't have anything that they want to add, but you know, saying it here, maybe someone will hear us and they will want to attend or find out when they can give some feedback. We will be doing a survey the whole month of November, so that is a good way to connect with patrons that way. If they don't want to come in person, they can definitely answer the questions that we've been using in our strategic planning sessions, and that'll be the whole month. So we'll be canvassing. People can fill out the survey at the library, and then they can also fill it out online. So I do think we're doing a good mix of getting it out there, the word, as much as possible. We have an e-newsletter. It'll be dropped in the e-newsletter in November, so people have a link to it. It'll be on the website. And then, again, trying to get to as many people as we can. As you can see on page 53, if we go back for a second, we're averaging about 25,000 card holders, people that have cards at the library. And my thought is, if we could touch base with 10% of them, that's about 250 surveys that we'd be getting back. If we could get that, that's kind of a goal in mind for what we might be able to get from our community. We'll see. Obviously, we do have a couple questions that are in the citizen survey that went out through the city of Novi as well, and we'll be able to capture that information. So I do think we will have some good data once we get this all back at the end of November. Any questions just on the strategic plan at this point? And a huge thank you to Jeff and Doreen. Yes.
Just a comment, the folks who put the 5 years of accomplishments did a really nice job. I like the presentation.
Great.
The information that's there, it's summarized great. Everything's very valid, so well done.
Yeah. Thank you. We will present to council, let me back up. Christina Salvatore will be here in November to present to you the annual report. And then we have a date in December that we will go to council to give our annual report and also the strategic plan and bring that to council. So that's all on the books as well, coming up this in the next couple months. Okay?
Do you have numbers for the meetings next week?
For the Yeah, we do, and they're low. We did another push just today, and we actually got some calls. And then I also did another email blast of some people as well. So, but they are low, yeah. And we had over 100, close to 130 people that were sent emails 2 weeks ago, and then today as a second push. So if we could get a third, even 30 people, that would be great. That's what they typically tell you when it comes to events, if a third RSVP. So we're anticipating hopefully a good crowd. I know it is Halloween Day. I don't know if that plays into it or not. That's why we chose early morning, hoping with the schools maybe that would, before they actually have events. And then we have an afternoon one. The November dates, we're going to do a Saturday, 2 dates on a Saturday, and then we're going to do a Monday evening. And I think those might be even more appealing to some people who haven't been able to connect with us yet. Okay. Page 56, I just wanted to point out, this is our community read. Wanted you to see the article that was in the Novi today, as well as I wanted to follow up with you because this book is actually a contender for an Andrew Carnegie Medal. This is huge. We did not know this. As we chose this book for this year, and yet it's getting some good buzz for it to be award-winning. So I wanted you to be aware of this book getting that as a nonfiction title. And we'll be hosting that event. It'll be hosted at the Wixom Public Library on Friday, November 9th at 7 o'clock. If any of you are interested in being there, the author will speak. Page 59 and 60 and 61 is the most recent health report on the Novi Cafe. There was nothing major. Everything was addressed right away. I do want to let you know, though, that I've been in communication with the cafe owner, and he has not turned in his insurance, so he's currently not in compliance with our contract and having his insurance information turned in. So I'm just making you aware of that. He always has to he has to be current with his insurance for the cafe, and we have not received the paperwork. I've sent multiple emails to him requesting it, and the request, he sent it, but the request, it needs to be an actual office that we're dealing with in Michigan, and it's stated in the contract that it is a Michigan insurance agent, and he sent information earlier which was out of state, and we've required that he connect with a Michigan office.
When did his prior one expire?
It expired almost 2 weeks ago.
How long is this grace period?
Well, I've been working with him to get it turned in. There hasn't been a grace period. I'm ready to be sending an actual formal letter at this point.
Okay, okay.
Yep. So moving on, wanted to give you an updated on page 62 and 63 and 64 of the Inform, Inspire, Include pamphlet that I always share with you. This has updated numbers on it. We always use this in conjunction with the ambassador program that's for the city of Novi when we have new people interested in local government. And we had that presentation, and President Mitchner attended with me. So this is always a good time to update it and for you to have some good talking points if you ever need them. I call it your elevator speech. So I know there's a lot there, but good information for you to have. And then following, this is page 65 starts the information on bylaws, which the bylaw committee will talk about under matters for board action. Page 71 is a call for Novi memorabilia. We're working with the city to help them identify any artifacts that would commemorate the 50 years, which the city will be celebrating in February. So if anyone out there has anything that they'd like to share, they have photos. They're really looking for tangibles, things that they can put on display. So, if you have an old varsity jacket from years ago from the high school, or, something, maybe some artifact that you were given at an event years ago with the city, they're looking for those types of things to put on display. So I encourage and welcome anyone to contact the city so that we can have a great display of memorabilia over the next year. And then following on page 72, just wanted to show that we do market the library in some of our Novi Community School District programs, and this was one of their programs that they put out each year, and the library has an actual ad that we put in to identify ourselves. Following on page 73 starts Barb Rakowski's report for IT, and they're doing a lot of great programming and a lot of equipment. Lots of sessions going on, and then they had the opportunity to be, you'll see a report next month, they had the opportunity to be at Fox Run and do a virtual reality program. I'm happy to tell you that they had 60 participants testing the VR equipment. Wow. So Scott will follow up with a larger report for you for November, but it was a really great afternoon and an opportunity to connect with the Fox Run residents. Page 74 is a small report from Keith Perfect. I can tell you that the LED project has continued. We're back on the calendar, and they're currently working on the project again based on more bulbs being received. We had, when I met with the facilities department today, they've completed the staff area, and they're working on some public spaces at this time. So we are moving along with that. Page 7, yes, I'm sorry.
Are you changing any switches also?
I'm sorry?
Are you changing any switches?
We did change the dimmer switch that was talked about in one of our meetings that was completed. We had that work done. So now the bulbs can be transferred, the LED bulbs can be transferred in. Yes. Thank you for that question. Page 75 is the Information Services Report. Lots of great things happening with programming and with our librarians. As you can see, I mean, just great numbers, great attendance, and then a lot of variety. Some wonderful photos. If you look on page 77, we did host our second 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, you know, our Raising a Reader kids. And so there's a photo up there at the top of that. A wonderful cultural event that was for India that we had at the library. If I go back to page 76, you can see the numbers and how we're doing with logs for our 1,000 books and 260 participants and 2,700 books read. So some great statistics, as you can see. Page 78, we did include our On the Road to Midland, which happened in September. And this is a program that Gail Anderson hosts with our state rep, Kathy Crawford. Another great turnout, full bus load. You can see a little bit of the expenses and where some profit was made by the program on page 79. Some wonderful photos and a little bit of the itinerary for the event. They have not decided on what the spring one will be yet, but I do encourage people to attend. Everyone always has a great time, and if you're looking for someone to take you on a great day of exploring, and you don't have to worry about the drive, Gail and Kathy, they do a great job as the hosts on the bus and getting them around to some great locations. So it's been a wonderful event that we started a number of years ago and really has a great following and great support. On page 80, that is the Support Services Department update from Mary Ann Zermulin. One thing that I'd like to point out to you is on page 81, I wanted to point out the total checkouts and what a huge, almost 10,000 difference in checkouts when it comes to materials back in September. So we're back to the school months and the busyness of the library, as you can see. On page 83, one of the statistics I wanted to point out is, and I highlighted it in yellow, we did have a couple days where our counter was not working, so I wanted you to be aware of that, so numbers could be just a little bit lower based on some work that had to be done. That was an issue we had with the counter, but that's been fixed. And then moving along through our statistics, on page 89, you can see that our app is back up and running, and the numbers have definitely gone back up to what we typically see. 39,000 for September in terms of usage of hits on our app. And those were low for a little bit because that was a connectivity issue with the new catalog and Carl and the app. Then moving forward on page 90, we have our Friends of the Library, their agenda for October 10th meeting, and then they had their September 12th minutes placed in here as well. As you know, we had our event with the Friends last Friday night. It was a wonderful, again, success. Thank you to the members of the board that attended and showed your support. They had their highest attendance at the Friday event, and I think there were a lot of people that enjoyed it. And then following on page 93, it's been a couple years since we've revisited the memorandum of understanding with our friends and our board. This is something that we were looking at every couple of years that we bring to each other and share information. And they have provided some changes that I've put in yellow for you. I'd like to have a conversation tonight of whether you are accepting those changes, and then I would take it back to them for an adoption. So it won't be adopted yet. Basically, you're looking at a draft tonight. If you're comfortable with that, I'll take it back to the Friends for the draft for them to be looked at, and then we'll go ahead for an approval at the November meeting. And then, yes.
Really quick, do you want to talk about that a little bit more during matters for board action?
Yes, that would be great.
Awesome, thanks.
And then on page 95 is the Novi Historical Commission. Here are their minutes from July 25th, and also they have their minutes included from August 22nd. And then finally, on page 103, I'd like to bring to your attention The Historical Commission, specifically Kathy Crawford and Betty Lang, Christina Salvatore and myself, we've been working on a presentation that we can bring to the community that will address who David Barr is and what he means to our community. With the opening of Villa Barr that took place just a week ago, we are excited to be bringing a program that we hope can go on the road and maybe shared with other libraries, so that we can bring awareness to who David Barr was and the Villa Barr Park, and bring people into Novi for seeing that park. So we have a premiere event that will happen on Thursday, January 31st, and this program is being put together by the Historical Commission. We just had a meeting last week where we invited both Jeff Muck, Tracy Ringel from Parks and Rec, because they have a lot of information and data that they've been, that's been made available to them in knowing David Barr, as well as bringing our former mayor, David Landry, on board to get his feedback, because he works on the cultural, the foundation for the Parks Foundation, and has been very much involved in David Barr's unveiling and the park coming to fruition over the last few months. So we received some very good constructive criticism and feedback in order to improve that presentation for it to be ready in January. Any questions or comments at this time? Yes.
What is the progress on removing this racing car?
At this time, I don't have an update for you. I provided some information to the city for costs. I had, in terms of the gate that needs to be moved in order for the car to leave and go out the front of the building, some moving of shelves and things. So I've provided that data, but I have not heard if it's moving forward at this time.
Second question about this cafeteria, we do not have a insurance. If during that time something happened to anybody, then?
There's an insurance with the library as well. So we are covered as well, but we look for him to carry his own. But yes, we do.
Thank you.
So we have a
Absolutely,
safety.
yes.
That's nice. and
Yes,
good
thank you
question.
for asking that. That's a great question.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll move on to committee reports. Policy Committee, there's nothing at this time that I'm aware of. Okay. HR Committee,
We met a week or so ago, and I'll have a presentation in the matters for board action
Okay.
regarding our new evaluation proposal.
awesome. Thank you, Bill. Finance Committee? Anything? No? Okay.
We do have a meeting that we're going to have on November 2nd with an outside financial advisor, and trustee Messerneck is going to join me that morning for the event, or for the meeting.
Thank you. And then events and marketing, just, there's,
We were
recently-
busy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, everybody was busy. If you look, everybody is on there and really
Yeah.
took part in September and October. Thank you so much. And I was really excited to see one of our student reps even get involved, so it's been great.
That's pretty awesome. And it's a good credit to our board actually
Yes,
being
it
so
is.
involved and taking turns.
Yes, I truly appreciate it, and
Right.
it's great having someone from the board represented at different events, so I thank you
Yes.
for that support.
Yeah. Okay, and then Strategic Planning Committee. I know we talked a little bit about that, but Jeff, if you want to.
Want me to speak?
Yeah.
Yes, we had 3 meetings 4 weeks ago. I was only able to attend the first 2. Like you said, the good and bad, I guess people are happy with where we're at, so they didn't come out in forces. But we did have, I'll call them super users, one at each of the meetings I was at. So they were very happy to be on the spotlight, so to speak, and we grilled them with questions.
We did,
Yeah,
and they were vocal, which we appreciate.
They were vocal, yes. I think we had a lot of good feedback. A lot of technology questions, or feedback, I would say. Just looking at my notes here, between both of them. And one was a mother of young kids, and so hearing the perspective of the technology they wanted versus someone who, kind of, I forget how he classified himself, but he had a classification, but he was older, but, he put it in a way, he felt that this age group was not as well represented because they weren't old enough to be in Fox Run, but weren't young enough to have kids. So he put him in this group, and he really felt that, you know, some of this technology gets lost in that age group. And so that's really what I took away from that. But some unique ideas
Right.
came up. And I think really, what I think it would be neat to have these conversations on a regular basis, especially if we can get like, I'll call it these super users.
Yes.
You know, maybe like like Dr. Matthews has a coffee with Dr. Matthews. Maybe there's a way, you know, a coffee with, you know, one of the board members and
Great
somebody at the library to, you know, just these little things which are, you know, maybe an annoyance, but not big enough to come to a meeting like this, or people don't want to come to a meeting, and having it at the library makes it easier for some of these people to come. So
I
maybe
love
we
that
have to
idea.
think about
I
something
love
like
that. I think that would be great.
To rotate it.
Absolutely. I mean, you're
Services.
talking only a couple times a year that you would, you know, host it, but then you're there and it's a drop in, and and we can put them all in, engage and make sure people are aware of an opportunity to, you know, talk with and meet with the library board. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
So, I don't know, just an idea that came up after, you know, those two meetings. But I'm hoping that we do have, you know, a more engaged crowd next week and for these last few meetings. Or else it's gonna be, I think it'll be really challenging to come up with, you know, a new strategy for the next 3 years.
I can add that once we do the public sessions and hopefully get a good feel for what maybe the public will want, again, the surveys through the whole month of November, that tends to be really good data because people, you know, they're not dropping in, and they're pretty honest when they can just put it on paper and just say things. So I think that's going to be very good information. At the same time, the staff, we will be meeting with the staff because they are the ears of a lot of what patrons are saying, and maybe you know, and so I don't want that to go by the wayside. So we will do some sessions with our staff in order to get their thoughts as well.
And then one last thing, for the TAB meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
These questions are gonna be asked, so I'm hoping to attend that because, these are significant
They
users
are.
of the
They
library. And
Yes.
that generation thinks different than we do. So it's good to hear, what they think we're missing and could add to the library.
I agree, and when we did that 5 years ago, that's how Teen Space came about. So, and what it does is it shows them also that we do listen and we do follow through and we do make things happen. So we, you know, if they give a suggestion, it isn't just a suggestion. We will try to look into how we can implement it if it's feasible. I agree with you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I say something? Isn't there a new neighborhood coming up with like the empty nesters? Something in Napier or something where it's
Bunch
like
of ranches. or-
ranches. So it will be completely addressing, they will be that age group. So I think that would be, I don't know anything about, I think they just approved it, but that would be amazing to
To
have.
get some,
We could have an empty nester group or something. I'll be there. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome feedback, thank you. Okay, F, which is the Building Landscape Committee.
As was mentioned earlier, the LED project is continuing to run. A couple little snafus have been addressed with the bulbs. The switch out has taken place, as Julie mentioned earlier, so we're making good progress with that. As I think everyone knows, the approval by council was done recently for Lakeshore Park, and we'll be moving ahead with our library kiosk. There's a meeting set up late November to actually get that up and running
That's awesome.
as far as the project goes. So, good project and some exciting stuff on that.
I'm so
Thank
excited.
you. It's exciting stuff. And then last, we're looking at G, Bylaw Committee.
We met recently and came up with some amended bylaws, and I'll also be presenting that in the matters for board action.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So, public comment time. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question-answer session, therefore library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees, and nobody is coming forward, so we'll move right on to what we've been talking about a lot today, matters for board action, item number 15. We'll start with A, which is the Director Annual Performance Evaluation, and that's pages 35 through 37.
Yeah, it's a 3-part evaluation now. You might recall when we did Julie's evaluation back in June, there was a fair amount of feedback from folks that it could be improved some. And so Ramesh and I met with Marcia, who was an outstanding addition to our committee, and came up with this new format. We kept the categories because we felt like the leadership and the management and the communications and the strategic objectives were relevant enough and important enough that certainly they still needed to be addressed. We also came up with 2 new pages that I think are outstanding, and they have questions like, what are the 3 major strengths of the director? Are there limitations in the director's performance? And Julie fills this out too in the form of a self-evaluation. So what I really like about the second and third pages, it'll generate, I think, some excellent discussion when we go into our executive session. And that's been, to me, very valuable in the last few years, the back and forth about things we can do better for Julie and things, that, if there are any, that we'd like her to do better. So we don't need to approve it tonight if you want to spend some more time looking over this. Oh, I forgot one other important item. It's electronically fillable.
That's awesome.
I know that was one of the thanks to Marcia.
That's great.
So if there's input on it tonight, I'll be glad to answer it. If you want to approve it tonight, that's great. If you'd rather take some time, we can wait till next month too.
Let's open it up for discussion. How do you guys feel? I like it.
Well, I feel that you guys have taken a lot of time and effort to go through this. And, you know, I did review it, and, you know, I think that just from my perspective, we respect the amount of effort and thought you guys went through this, and to me, there's no need to question it.
I concur.
I just have a comment, and I love everything about it. I love the feedback. My only thing on page 36, on page number 2 and 5, that's a yes or no question. To me, are there, and yes, no, but should it be more of a,
What are?
am I,
Like, what are the limitations of the director's
if
performance?
any, what are, if any, limit, something, because that's a yes or no question. Are there, yes, no, right?
We could certainly amend that to call for more.
If so, explain.
Sure, right, just maybe add something. That's only my thought process is not that we would, but, sorry.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
You can do that.
I like the 2 pages that you add for all the obvious reasons. It will certainly focus our thoughts better than what we had before. My only gripe, and I have this on every performance evaluation form, is on the first page, performance rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we always struggle with, well, what's a 2, what's a 3, and in reality, maybe there only needs to be 3 of those instead of 5. I don't know. If you have someone that you expect to do a good job, do they meet expectation or are they outstanding? So I find that process, not just with this form, but with all of these forms, to be lacking, and I don't have any idea what would be better. I just know I always struggle as I go, well, I expected her to be great, and she was. So is she a 3, a 4, a 5? And we wind up doing, a lot of 5s. I don't know a better way.
Is that in line with the city?
This currently, yes, is how it's done with the city and the other performance evaluations we do with the staff, yes.
Okay.
And it's good for you to be on par with the staff.
Digging down real deep very often, was it a 4 or was it a 3? It seemed like more it was a mechanism to generate discussion.
Right.
But I'm certainly open to losing the 4s and the 2s if people feel like the 1, 3, 5 would be plenty.
Should we do what the city's doing? No, I guess that's,
Not just the city too, the staff, right? If this is what we're
Yep.
judging the staff by, I think
We
it should be
follow the city
consistent.
and it's the staff, yes, so we're trying to stay consistent.
I think we should stay consistent. But I agree with your comments with that. That's always, even in the private
Yeah,
work life.
that, I've seen 100 of them, so.
Okay. Do we want to put that to a vote, everyone? Do I hear a motion?
Well, what,
I guess it's so moved with updating questions 2 and 5, is that what we're saying to,
why
or
don't
do
you-
we wait till the next meeting with the revision?
Do you want to
Right.
review
I
and
think
wait till
that-
the next meeting and see
I think
that?
that makes perfect sense.
And I think having Doreen here, I think including her would be important too. if we
And
could.
there's no rush, just so you know. Yeah.
Okay, good. So there's no deadline that we're looking
Exactly.
at.
I do have a question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, just one
Please.
specific. When I go to do my self-evaluation for you, would you, I'm just putting myself in a perspective for my time frame.
Sure.
Would you like me to be getting this to you in May so that you have time then to see the self-evaluation and make, or is it me just bringing it the night of and you seeing it for the first time? I just want just some clarification on that.
That's a good question.
Is there
Yeah.
anything in the bylaws or?
No.
That indicate what this should be?
No.
Can I throw that out a little bit for everybody? I like the question. So just to kind of like paint it up a bit. On the one hand, if she did it beforehand and we were able to review it, I think we'd have a benefit in knowing more about what she's actually doing instead of assuming. So we could kind of see how she views herself, and that might influence our score, unless you feel like you don't want your score influencing, you want to just go by what you already see. So those are the thoughts I just want to kind of throw out
Now I
there.
think about this, I guess, if I look at how I've done this in my private life, the employees do their self-evaluation, and then you give your feedback
Yeah.
afterwards. So that actually is I like that
Yeah, I
process.
agree.
Yeah.
And you'll see in December, we always do a mid-year, you'll see some of that forming, but this, I'm happy to, I'm just trying to put a time frame for myself so I know it's ready and it's sent to you in
I think it'll make
advance.
us more factual, instead of just thinking, Julie smiles, she's great. You know what I mean? Not that anybody's grading like that, but I think this gives us actual things to look at.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And if
It
there's
does.
something that we like, we can point that out, or if there's something we're like, why are you doing this?
So I'll
We can
make
point that
sure
out.
that you have my self-evaluation by the May meeting, so that you have a full month in advance of the actual June meeting when that occurs. Okay,
I like
great.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Excellent work to your committee, Bill. Good work. Okay, so we're gonna shelve that.
So yep, it'll be back for a
Sorry.
second
We'll be back in
draft after.
November with some amplification on those 2 numbers.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, B, Board of Trustees bylaws, and that's pages 65 through 70.
We hadn't looked at the bylaws in quite a few years, so we got together to do that. We didn't make, I don't think, any real substantive changes. What there was is some of it was just kind of boilerplate language that was used 6 or 7 years ago that really in practice didn't apply anymore. So we removed some of those. And then there were some that just weren't applicable to our city, as far as signing checks and some of that stuff, which we seldom do. So there are a few changes made that are highlighted, nothing substantial, and we're willing to discuss it with a goal of getting approval if possible.
If you look, I apologize, on page 66, there is some strikeout that wasn't highlighted. It's under Article 3, under Officers, Section 2. I just want to bring that to your attention since it wasn't in yellow. And that's just to take that out, and it just streamlines more what we do in terms of nominating for our officers.
So that doesn't really make that much of a difference, is what you're saying?
It's just, right, we're looking to omit that language. What we did add is on page 68, we made sure that we were specific in what is said for the meetings when it comes to public comment. And now they will mirror what you're doing on the agenda and in the bylaws.
I just want to read it really. Yep, and there's just a little strikeout where they don't have to do it 5 days in advance, right?
Right.
Okay. And you took out except at the discretion of the president?
Yeah, yeah, because we don't, yeah, we
Took a
don't.
little power away.
Well, it's never gone that route. It always goes through the admin office, so.
Okay. It looks good to me. Anyone else?
I think the changes make sense.
Motion?
Okay, all right. Sounds like you're making a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept the amended bylaws.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's approved.
Thank you.
All right. C is a memorandum of shared understanding between the Friends of the Novi Library and the Novi Public Library. And that's pages 93 through 94.
So there were some really small changes that came from President Sue Johnson. The first one under the first paragraph, the board and friends will encourage each to provide a non-voting representative. They didn't want it to feel like you had to go. We've been very encouraging of each other to attend different meetings, but the language seems so strong prior that they added that instead. And then annually, each entity will invite the other to present at a year-end meeting to share, which we're doing. They wanted that noted so that we're just sharing information with each other. Then down at the bottom of page 93, we added some examples of participation, annual budget sessions, training, just so someone understands where, they might take part or be involved when it comes to the board or with them. And then on page 94, it was the change in the president's name. And I apologize, the paragraph just above signatures, it was taking out annually.
Okay.
Were they invited to the strategic planning sessions?
We're going to actually take advantage of their November meeting, and we're going to go to their meeting and get their feedback, yes. Because that's a great group to be using, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when you say the inviting each other, it's kind of like when I came to their meeting and then they come to see us often.
right.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
we do
I
that.
want to let you know that I send both the president and vice president the board packet every month, so they get it in hand. They do read it. In fact, they assign someone from the actual board to read the packet and report on it, and it's not president, vice president, but those two are aware of it. So they're doing a great job keeping abreast of what you're doing on a monthly basis. They didn't feel that you had to be at a meeting in order to be involved, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Sure. I think it looks fine. But we can talk about a vote.
You won't. This is just.
Oh, we don't have to vote on
If you're
this.
comfortable at this time, I'd like to take this draft to them. Then you'll see them give a rubber stamp, and then we'll do an approval.
So you want to
It'll be back for a second draft in November.
Okay.
Yes.
And in November, you're looking at us voting on it.
Correct.
Okay, I just want
Yep,
to
and actually
clarify that
approving
out
it.
for the board.
Yes.
record.
Just what words were there before the board and friends will encourage each to, you have encourage and two highlighted?
Yes. You know what, I'll have to go back.
I was just curious, you said it was strong, you don't.
I think you had to go. Like, we were sending someone, and we're not doing that, and neither one is each.
I was just
Yeah.
curious.
If they add, it looks like it says the Friends and Board will each provide a non-voting representative.
That is
So
what
they,
yes.
they just
That
added
is what it is. Thank
encourage
you.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you. That
Was
is-
there
I believe it is.
anything that you thought or needed to be added or changed?
No, I thought it was
Okay,
great.
I wanna make
These
sure
came
that-
right- These came right from Sue, and again, I'll bounce it back to them for any other thoughts or comments.
And this went in front of their whole board?
It
Their
does,
board? Oh,
yes.
perfect. Okay, great.
And Ramesh had a comment.
Oh, yes.
Whenever, especially the bylaws, whenever we are changing anything, I think in the bottom, we should say updated on so-and-so date.
We always do. Yeah, there's always a revision date.
I think it's at the top on the first
Yeah,
page.
it's on the top, it's on the top of that particular one.
Cover page?
Yeah. It's on the top, actually. If you go to page, on page 65, it's at the very top, revised and adopted, right by the draft box.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll move on. There's no
Okay,
action
so I'll be
there.
bringing this back for second draft in November. They're going to
Absolutely.
see this copy at their November meeting.
Perfect. Okay. And then we'll look at it for a vote next month. Awesome.
You know what I just thought of?
What's that?
Their meeting is the 14th, and you guys meet on the 15th, so that won't happen. You won't see it until December.
December? That's, gives us more,
Yep.
gives them more
absolutely.
time.
And
gives
it's
us
not
more time.
anything critical moving forward, so just so there's no time sensitivity to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for note's sake, we'll say December part.
Yes, great.
Thank you. Okay, guys. So moving forward, we're looking at a motion.
Wait, before
Oh,
you do
yes,
that,
please.
I'm not going to be at the next meeting. I'm going to be out of town, but my report will be in the handbook.
Very helpful to know.
I hear too. Are we
Oh,
all falling at the wayside for November?
No?
Okay, so we'll be down 2 members. The board meeting in November is at the library. It is on the 15th, so it's bumped up to the 3rd Thursday, not the 4th, because of Thanksgiving holiday.
Sure.
And it is at the library at 7. Okay?
Thank you for
Reminding-
mentioning that, yes.
I promise I'll send an email as well, but yes. Okay, so we are expecting that we will have 5 members that night,
Perfect.
so far. Okay,
Yep.
great.
And the December meeting is on the 19th?
It is.
That's a little different date too.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
moving to the Wednesday. It always does because of Parks and Rec and some other things that we have to juggle with other meetings. It moves to a Wednesday in December.
And that's here.
It is here.
Okay.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Good clarifications for us.
Yes, thank you.
Yours
Absolutely.
almost over.
I know.
How about that?
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, everybody. Anything else before I get to item 16? Looks like no. All
Motion
right.
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Do I hear it? I hear a second. So do I hear all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye, aye. We've said it. Motion is approved. We're adjourned. Thank you, guys. Have a great.